Hello, I'm Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Sips Training as well as North Star Goldens. I have Ellie here in the crate with me and we're going to be doing her demonstration today. I'm sure you guys are very excited to get her, as well as we're very excited to send her to you. I think you're going to be happy with the way that she's turned out. Now, we are going to be doing a full demonstration here for you today, and so I'll go through all 5 phases of our program, starting with socialization, and then we'll get her out and I'll show you her manners, her obedience commands, house training, and leash training. Now, before I do that, just a couple things about Ellie. First, she has got a lot of energy, and so I hope you're prepared for that. What we've been doing is we like to get her out for a good walk or run first thing in the morning, try and burn some of that energy so that she's a little bit calmer during the day. But I would make sure that you get her plenty of exercise, just meet those needs, and she'll do just wonderful for you. Now, a couple other things I'd like to talk to people about. The first is just the secret to all dog training, and that's consistency. You need to make sure that you're consistent in correcting as well as rewarding. Now, when we correct her, we use the word no or nope, and we treat that somewhat like a misdemeanor felony type of deal. Regardless, if she does something wrong, she's going to get corrected. Now, how severe the correction is depends on the behavior that she's performed. So if she does something simple, like she breaks a stay, I'll just tell her no, and I'll have her do it again. Whereas if she jumped up on me or she tried to steal food, I'd be a lot more firm in the way that I present that no. And to do that, I would adjust my voice fluctuation and my body language. Those 2 factors are what a dog reads the most. We also have one type of physical correction, and that's a leash correction. It's just 2 pops on the leash. You're not trying to yank her backwards or jerk her around. It's basically just to get her attention. And so 1 pop on the leash usually means that they hit the end of the leash, but if you give that second, it gets their eyes to come up. They're going to look at you. They're going to see what's going on, why there was 2 pops. And so we'll use that and then accompany it with either no or off or easy. So with that, we'll kind of jump right into the actual program. We'll start, like I said, by talking about socialization. So socialization, to me, that's the most important thing that we do with any puppy. And what that is we're just going to make sure that we expose her to new sounds, people, animals, dogs, places, textures, just a variety of new and uncomfortable situations. But we do it in a controlled environment. And those new situations during this time, those kind of predict what she's going to be afraid of and what she's not. It's also going to show if there's any severe anxiety or timid or aggressive behaviors. And so when we do that in a controlled environment, we can see her reaction and we can really focus on her to make sure that it's a positive experience instead of a negative. And so if she seems a little nervous, we'll get her engagement. I'll have her sit in front of me. I'll go down, I'll pet her, I'll give her treats, and I just want to make it a really positive experience. And you're going to have to do the same thing as you get her home. There's going to be new things that she's going to be a little bit uncomfortable with, and you just need to make sure that you get her engagement with you, make sure that you develop a good relationship, and that you're going to ease her into these uncomfortable situations. And that way she's not going to be timid or scared of anything. So now we'll hop into her manners. And as I let her out, I'm going to put a leash on her. I would recommend that you let her drag around a short leash for the first little while. That way, if you do need a quick correction or to grab her and get her outside, you do have a way to grab her. So the first manner I'm going to show you is her gates and her doorways. So anytime she comes out of the crate, we go outside, she goes through a kennel door, anything like that, I do expect her to wait. Now, because she's a puppy, she might break, especially when it's the first time going through. If she does, that gives you time for a correction, and what I would do in this case is I might simply close the door, or I might lift my leg. It wouldn't be, though, unless she was really persistent on pushing her way out, that I would actually tell her to wait. And that's because this should be an automatic behavior. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Now, like I said, I'm going to put this leash on her. Good girl. And the next behavior is actually what she just did there. We call it her greeting. And so anytime I call her to me or she approaches me, I expect her to sit. And that sit does a couple things. One, it keeps her from jumping. It's going to give her something to do, so she's going to be planted. And the other thing is it gets her eyes. If you have a dog's eye contact, you have 100% of their attention. And so look for that. I expect that every time I call her before I give her any attention. Ellie, come here. Come here. And so before, once again, waiting for that sit. Good girl, good girl. Then I'll go down and I'll pet her and give her some love. Good girl. Every time. Good girl. Now, I'll show you her mealtime manners. So we feed her twice a day, usually first thing in the morning, like 6:37, and then about 6 o'clock at night. And I give her a cup and a half each time. Now we already have fed her this morning, so this is not even a fourth of a cup, just to show you how we feed her. But the evening time at 6, I like to keep that as close as possible because we put her to bed at 10, and I want a good 4 hours for her to clear out her system before she goes into a crate. So anytime we feed her, we expect her to hold a sit stay, and so I'll just tell her to stay. Nope. If she breaks, I'll just have her do it again. Stay. Okay, good girl. Now I also like to handle her when she eats, make sure there's no aggression here. I can stick my hands down in the food bowl. Sometimes I'll even throw treats in. I just want to make sure that she's really comfortable. Now we also make a point just to handle her throughout the day. I want to make sure, once again, that there's no aggression or that she's not going to be sensitive to me touching her. So I can grab paws, tail, ears, anything that might be sensitive to her. Good girl. Now, I've never seen any aggression out of her. She's very, very sweet, very easygoing. But there is one time that you see playful behavior mistaken for aggression. And usually that's with children. And so I make a rule that if, especially small children, are playing with my dog, they have to have a toy. It gives her something to go after. She's not going to end up grabbing a pant leg or an arm. As well as if you get someone that's maybe a little bit afraid of dogs, they can then throw the toy and direct her away. Which she loves to play. Good girl, good girl. Now she also knows that when we're playing, if I ask her to drop it, she's expected to release it. I shouldn't have to try and take it away, but I can just ask her, drop it. Nope, drop it. Good girl. And I'm going to wait for her to give it up. Good girl. I'm not going to try and pull it out of her mouth, but she should just drop it on command. Drop it. No, drop it. Drop it. Good girl. See, hopefully you can see that on the camera, but I just expect her to immediately let it go. I don't. She has been trying to grab it again here for a second. That's why I'm working on this a little bit. Drop it. Good girl. And see, just like that, she just completely let it go. Turned her attention to me. Good girl. Good girl. That's the expectation. Good girl. Drop it. Ellie, drop it. Good girl. Good girl. So we've also taught her to be very gentle with her mouth. If she's overexcited and kind of jumping, you don't want her to end up taking off your hand. And so I would just ask her gently. No, gently. I expect her to be very cautious. I also use this to make sure that all four paws are on the ground. A lot of times she'll kind of lean up and she'll lift that one paw, and I'm going to wait for both of her front paws to be on the ground. Gently. Good girl. Good girl. So just like that. The reason that's important to me is because it makes sure that they're not going to be jumping. Even though she's not leaving the ground, she's leaning up for that treat. I don't want that. I want her to be patient and let me give the treat to her. So once again, that helps with jumping. We do have a command for that that's off. And she knows that if she tries to jump up on me or up onto your couch or onto anything, I can tell her off and expect her to get right down. Both the gently and that greeting are going to be your two tools to help with that. Jumping is one of the hardest behaviors for puppies to overcome. They just have a lot of energy, they're excited to see you, and so it's important that you expect them to sit when they approach you. And if they do try and jump, you need to direct your attention away from them. It's also important that if they're running to you and they jump, that you never step backwards. As soon as you step back, you're encouraging her to jump. Instead, I want to step into her, and I'm going to bring up my knee and block her. That way I'm standing my ground, and the goal is to put her onto her back. It puts her in more of a submissive posture. And usually you only have to do that once, and they understand that, oh, he's the leader here. I can't get away with jumping on him. Now, come here. And so the expectation, though, instead is that she sits. Good girl. Good girl. Now, if you do have small children, that's usually when you actually encounter the issues with jumping, is because she thinks that maybe she's above your youngest in the pack order. That's usually how it happens. But if for some reason she wants to just jump on one person, there's a couple things you can do. One, having that person control the food shows them that they're in charge. The other thing that I'll do is I'll just take her by the leash, and I would have that person call her over, and if she went over and tried to jump, I'd give her that 2 pops on the leash, tell her off, and turn around and walk away. And I would do that 4, 5, 6 times, however many it takes, till she just approaches and sits. And as soon as she sits, reward that behavior. Pet her, good girl, just make it very, very positive. Now, the next manner is one that you also need to make sure that you're on top of, and that's chewing. Right now she is teething. I don't think she's lost her front teeth, but that's about it. And so she's definitely got some more teeth to lose. She's got a couple that are really ready to come out, and so she is going to be chewing rather heavily, and you need to make sure that what she's chewing on is alright with you. So we train on a base of avoiding and replacing. And so avoiding giving her free access to things you don't want chewed up, that's always the best way to prevent an accident from happening. But it's really never possible in your home. There's always something that she has access to. And so that's where replacing comes in. And so I like to keep a variety of different toys around, and I'm going to give her one depending on what she's chewing on. So if she went up and she started chewing on like a pillow or a bed, I would tell her no, and I'd replace it with something soft like this stuffed moose. Whereas if she started chewing on a table leg or something hard, I would replace it with something like a bully stick, and that she can really get her teeth into. If she wanted to chew on her leash or shoelaces, I'd give her a rope. And like I said, just try and match that texture, tell her no, and replace it. And that way you are teaching her what she's allowed to chew on and what she's not. The other thing is boredom. Boredom is the #1 cause of chewing. And that's both if she's bored because maybe you guys have a downtime, you're watching a show or reading a book, something like that. During that situation, I just give her something to chew on. That way she's not going to be bored and go find something to chew on. The other thing is they get bored with their own objects. And so like right now, I gave her this stuffed moose. If she decided that she was done with that, she got up and left, I would immediately take it away. I don't want to give her free access to her own things. Instead, if I can remove it once she's done, there's still some excitement involved, and that way if she needs to chew, you can give it back to her and it's not this mundane toy that she always has access to. So, let's see. I believe that concludes our manners. So now we are going to jump right into our commands, and we'll start with our 2 most basic, which are come and watch me. Those 2 we teach from day 1, and then we also have hand signals for sit, lay down, and stay. And then we have a place command for go to bed, as well as for the crate, and a leave it command. So, I'm going to take this moose from her. Drop it. Good girl. Good girl. And we'll start with these commands. So the first one is just to get her eye contact, which you can already see that she has great engagement. She stares at me. She really likes to work, which has made her fairly easy to train. I mean, her energy does make it so some of these things are short and snappy, but she has been a really easy dog to train. So I'm going to try and distract her a little bit. Watch me. Okay, good girl. So all I'm looking for is eye contact when I do that command. Just real quick, as soon as I get the eye contact, I mark it and give her a reward. And I can even put food right out here, but she knows what we're doing. She's just going to stare at me instead of the food. Watch me. Okay, good girl. And see, just like that, moved her eyes over. That's what I want. We also treat her name very similar, and just to get eye contact, you can get her to come with it a little bit as well. But I always use her name when I do call her to come. That way, it gets her to look at me, and then I call her to come, and it's usually just going to make sure that behavior is heard loud and clear, and she's going to come. So it's really hard to show in here, but I'll tell her, Ellie, come! Okay, good girl. And immediately I'm just looking for her to come to me, and I'm going to reward her as soon as she gets to me, not wait for a sit, because I want to reward the behavior of her actually coming to me. Ellie, come! Good girl. Like I said, hard to show in here, but that is a command that we've spent a ton of time on making sure that it's solidified even outside in some heavier distractions. And really we see that command broken a lot. And the reason being is, one, I see people overuse the command, as well as use it in a situation where they're going to fail and then scalding their dog when the dog finally does come. And so what I mean by those is, first, overuse. If you are in the house and she's like 2 feet away, you don't need to use the come command. Instead, I can something like that. She's going to come over to me. I don't need to use that command, because I really only want to use that command when I need to. The other thing is, if your dog's out of earshot, or it's such an exciting new heavy distraction that you can just tell that she's not paying attention to you at all, she's just over thrilled with it, don't sit there and yell at your dog to come, and then finally when she sees the distraction and gets her fill, she turns around and comes to you. That's when you're mad and you end up hitting your dog or scalding your dog. You don't want to do that. I mean, you never want to hit your dog, but also don't even get mad at them when they finally do come, because all you're doing is burning that command. Instead, you want to keep that command really chipper. I'll use a higher pitched voice, as well as I'll be a lot louder when I use it, just because I do want her to follow through, and it is such an important command. Ellie, come! Good girl. But practice that command a ton. Keep a lot of positive repetitions. Anytime that you're in an enclosed area where you do have a little bit more control over her, practice that come. Or when she's on a long lead, I like to try and keep like a 10-to-1 ratio. 10 times just for no reason other than to give her a reward and let her go again for that one time that maybe you go inside, or it's time to leave the park, something like that. Outside, good girl. So I am going to take her to the bathroom now. We're hearing the bell. Okay. Okay, and as you can see, she did wait at the door. So we will cover that in detail in just a minute. I'm going to finish up our commands, and then we'll talk about the house training. So the next 3 commands, like I said, they do have hand signals, and there's actually 4 commands for 3 hand signals. So the first is a sit, which is just a little scoop over the nose, just like that, very simple. Down, I'll take my hand flat, I'll take her to the ground, and then stay as a stop sign. So I will show you. Come here. So I can have her sit. Down. Stay. Nope. And if she pops up, stay. You have to make sure the elbows are down. That was my mistake, being a little quick. If they're not, a lot of times they'll pop up. Okay, good girl. And so very similar, I can just ask her to sit, stay. Maybe add a few more distractions, like throwing food on the ground. Okay, good girl. Good girl. So once again, that's sit, down. Okay. And then if you want her to stay, stay is the stop sign. If I don't give her the stay, she's allowed to pop up. So now the next two don't necessarily have a hand signal, but more so is putting yourself in a position where she can read your body language. And so for instance, I can tell her, Ellie, crate. Good girl. And if she hesitates, I might tap on the top like that. Okay, good girl. But the expectation is that she goes in and she does wait to be released. Crate. Good girl. Okay. It's also important that I only give the command once. I'm going to allow her to really process things, make sure that she's starting to think about it and actually figure out what you want versus relying upon you to continue to keep saying it. Similar, I can tell her to go to bed. I don't care what position she's in as long as all four paws are on the bed. Okay, good girl. And she should stay until released. Go to bed. Good girl. Okay, good girl. Crate. No, crate. Okay, good girl. Now, the next one is leave it. And we'll see if she wants to play with the treat today. A lot of times we do this out on the road, leaving, whether it's dead animals or cow or horse manure. But we'll also try and do it a little bit with food. And so I'll just drop a treat and ask her to leave it. Which the other problem is a lot of times they know exactly what we're doing, because when we do it inside, there's not a lot of variation you can do. Okay, good girl. Sit. Down. We'll see if she'll let me even leave it on. Nope, down. On her paw. Leave it. Nope. Nope, leave it. Okay, good girl. And so you can see it's very simple, just making sure that she's going to allow you to pick it up or to walk past it, whatever it is. Good girl. Good girl. See? So that concludes our commands, and now we'll start talking about our crate training as well as our house training. So with the crate training, you do have that crate command for her to go in. It's important that you don't use that just to lock her up. Use it a handful of times throughout the day. That way she doesn't get so reliant upon it. That way she doesn't start to understand that anytime you use it, she's going to be locked up. Otherwise she'll start not wanting to go in because she knows you're going to lock the door. And so keep it random, make it fun, have her run in and out a handful of times. Keep it light that way. But she does do a great job in the crate. She'll sleep in there for 3-hour blocks during the day, as well as she is sleeping through the night. We put her to bed about 10, get her out between 6:30. So she's doing really great that way. Now, even though she's sleeping through the night, the transition as she comes to your home often causes a lot of stress for puppies. And so it's expected that she's going to have to go to the bathroom more frequently, as well as she will get a loose stool. So if she does start to whine in the middle of the night, just let her out, give her a break, and just put her right back in. Honestly, it's probably not a bad idea just to set an alarm and let her out halfway through. The exception there is if you just barely put her in there and she starts to whine, that you have to ignore. And that does happen as they transition into a new place because they're starting to get used to you. You're kind of that sense of peace in a new environment, and so they just want to be by you. But if you let them out, when they start whining immediately, then they'll start to think that they can do that all the time when they don't want to be in the crate. So, yeah, now with the house training. So we have taught her to ring a bell when she needs to go to the bathroom, which you've just witnessed. And this is going to be the most involved for you to transition. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing that I want to do is I just want to make it positive with her ringing the bell. And so I'm looking for a lot of repetitions. The important part is that she's seeing the bell and seeing that we are going to the bathroom and that it's positive. It's not a negative thing. And so I'm going to start by just getting her to ring the bells. I'll take some treats, break them up really small, and I'm just going to mark every time that she touches the bell. Okay, good girl. And I'm just going to stare at the bells. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. And the pause is actually a really important part. Once again, it shows that she's actually thinking about it. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. Once she's wringing it out of your hand like that, that's when I'll move over to the door. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, but partway through I'm going to switch up the wording. So we're just going to stare at bells. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. Okay, outside, good girl. And now I'm going to take her out. Okay, good girl, outside. Okay. No? Okay. Now if I was doing this at your house, I would turn around, have her ring the bells a few more times, go right back out. And then I'd bring her in, have her ring them again, go back out. Now do that 4 or 5 times. Just get the repetitions for seeing the bells on the door, ringing them, and going out to a specific area. Now when we go outside, I'll give her just maybe a minute or two to sniff around, use the bathroom. Usually she goes fairly quick, but 2 minutes tops. If she comes over and she sits in front of you, she's telling you that she doesn't have to go to the bathroom, and so you can just kind of move on. Now, when you do this, the point is to get her excited about the bells, as well as she's seeing where they are. You will notice that for the first day, she'll ring them a lot, which is important. You want a lot of repetitions these first couple days. And so I took them off just for the sake of this demonstration, so that I can continue to talk to you and don't have to go outside every 2 minutes. So, after you do that little exercise that I just showed you, every 30 minutes I would take her over to the bells. Just set a timer. 30 minutes goes off, walk over, let her ring it, take her outside. If she goes, be very positive. Okay, get outside, good girl. You know, give her a treat, pet her, make it so it's very, very positive. If she doesn't, just come back inside. So for the next 24 to 48 hours, every 30 minutes. The exception there is if she's in the crate. You don't need to pull her out of the crate every 30 minutes to go to the bathroom. After 2 days, start to lengthen it, go to 45 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. 2 hours is our standard that she should be able to last inside without needing a break. I know that she can surpass that, but for the next month I would not allow her to. I just don't want to give her any opportunity to have an accident in the house. If she does, most importantly, you need to give her 100% attention, supervision. And so if you see her in the middle of starting to squat, I'll clap, I'll stop, no, and I'm just going to grab her and run her outside. If you don't see her, there's nothing you can do. If you do see her, stop her in the middle, run her outside. If she finishes outside, then you need to be positive, even though your blood's boiling because she just had an accident on the floor. Now, I cannot emphasize 100% supervision enough. That just has to happen for the next month. You can't give her any leeway. You just have to watch that. Otherwise, the house training, there's no way for you to enforce it and make sure that it transitions over. Right now, she's doing just wonderfully here. She does such a good job. I want to make sure that that continues at your house. So, other things to look for. One, if she starts sniffing very heavily, she probably needs to go outside. If she starts doing circles, grab her and run her outside. If she's been asleep for longer than an hour, take her outside. And each time you do that, take her to the bells, allow her to ring in, unless she's spinning in circles and skip the bells. I also think that baby gates are awesome. Block off part of your house. She doesn't need to have full access until she's really transitioned into your home. So if you do have any questions about that, I'm sure you'll let Cindy or Jane know. So the leash work. We take them on two different types of walks. The first one being a long lead or an off-leash walk. That walk is basically just for them to be a dog. We take them to the mountains or down to the river and just let them run around and explore. I would recommend keeping her on a long lead until you're confident that she is going to return to you every time you call her to come. And so what I do is I really want to work on that come command when we go on these walks. So she'll be on that long lead, I'm just letting her run around and explore, and every minute or two I'll call her to come, give her a treat, let her go again. That way I'm working on that come command, but it's also really positive. She's getting to explore, she's checking in as well as she's getting a treat. And it's important that you give them that type of walk at least once a week just for their mental health. The second type of walk is our attention walk. That's when I want her by my side with a loose leash, and that's if we're really walking in public. And when we have that type of walk, the first command is let's go, just signifying we are moving. And the second would be easy if she starts to pull. If she starts to pull, I'll give her 2 pops on the leash, tell her easy, and expect her to put the slack back in the leash, or at bare minimum, stop and not continue to pull. So we're going to walk outside, and I'm going to show you that walk. So when I start this type of walk, I do ask her to sit. That way I know I have her attention. And then I'll just ask her, nope, let's go. I said I want her to walk next to me, nice J shape in the leash. Let's go. Periodically, I will give her a treat when she's paying attention to me and walking like she should. When I stop, easy. Hey, come here. Little distracted right now. Let's go. No. Go. Good girl. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Good girl.